You know what makes every outfit look better? The right bra from Third Love. Their bras make it easy to ultimate cleavage, a smooth look, or even stop your shirt buttons from pulling. They make over 60 sizes, including half cups you won't find anywhere else, so you'll find your perfect fit. Third Love solves bra problems, or what they call broblems. Real women test every style they make. Comfort and support are guaranteed. So stop settling for bad bras. You deserve better. Get your problem solved today. Save $15 on your first order with code podcast15 at thirdlove.com.
Sometime in the early 80s, REO Speedwagon's airplane made an unannounced, middle-of-the-night landing.
This is my friend Kyle MacLachlan, the star of Twin Peaks. And he's telling me about how he discovered a real-life Twin Peaks in rural North Carolina, not far from where he filmed Blue Velvet.
What was on the plane was copious amounts of drugs coming in from South America. Supposedly, Pablo Escobar went looking for other spots, quiet, out-of-the-way places to bring in his cocaine.
My name is Joshua Davis, and I'm an investigative reporter. Kyle and I talk all the time about the strange things we come across, but nothing was quite as strange as what we found in Varnamtown, North Carolina.
There's crooked cops, brother against brother. Everyone's got a story to tell, but does the truth even exist? Welcome to Varnamtown.
Varnamtown is available wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 339 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing very well. Having a good week, loving life, getting ready for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Making me a big turkey, are you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've never met anyone who could smell a free dinner from like a county away, like you can.
I got a nose.
Sometimes you just call me on the phone. Are you making enchiladas? Yeah, sure. Come on over. Hey, let's go ahead and give our Patreon shout outs. We had Tanny Zamora.
Hey, Tanny.
Christy Russell.
What's going on, Christy?
Ailey Aiden.
Well, appreciate that, Ellie.
Cheeky Beepy.
Well, thank you, Cheeky.
Cheryl Bamonte.
Hey there, Cheryl.
Andrea Adendi.
Ah, thank you, Adunde.
Julie Gifford.
What's going on, Julie?
Adam Torini jumped out at our highest level.
Ah, Torini.
Ryan Dillo.
What's going on, Dillo?
Alexandria Corolla.
Ah, Alexandria. Thank you.
Michelle Hammond.
Hey, Michelle.
BCS Phil.
What's going on, BCS?
Jasmine Judge.
Hey, Jasmine.
And last but not least, Juan Mesa Rodriguez Jr.
Well, thank you so much, Juan.
And then if we go back into the vault, this week we selected Karen Washington.
Well, thank you so much, Karen.
Yeah, thanks for all the Patreon support, the new, the continued. We had a great PayPal donation from Ann Kelly.
Thanks, Kelly.
Gibbs, right now on True Crime All the Time, we have an episode out on Michelle Carter, the 17-year-old who sent text messages to 18-year-old Conrad Roy, basically encouraging him to end his life. And this is a very famous case, received a lot of attention.
It did.
And it's a case that raises a lot of questions about criminal responsibility and to what extent Michelle should have been held accountable for her actions.
We had those conversations, didn't we?
We did. And I think it's a case that people will continue to talk about for many, many years. All right, buddy, are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved?
I'm ready.
We are talking about Lucas Hernandez. 5-year-old Lucas Hernandez disappeared from his home in Wichita, Kansas in February 2018. His father's live-in girlfriend, Emily Glass, was a person of interest from the beginning. 3 months later, Emily led a private investigator to Lucas's remains. But although Lucas's body has been found, his case remains unsolved. And we're going to have some discussions around, why that is.
Definitely some bizarre scenarios.
Lucas Hernandez was born on December 3rd, 2012. And we mentioned it, right? He was just 5 years old when he died. Lucas's parents are Jonathan Hernandez and Jamie Taylor Orr. They were no longer together at the time of his death. Lucas attended pre-K at a local elementary school. His teacher, Patricia Allen, told the local news outlet KAKE he's the sweetest little boy. Loved his Batman backpack. Loved playing Legos with me. And that right there is enough to break your heart.
Absolutely.
Again, we're talking about a 5-year-old, so this is a tough episode. But when you hear not just family members, you hear teachers talk about a little kid in these terms, how sweet he is, how much he loved his Batman backpack, and, he loved playing Legos with her, it'll make you tear up.
Just a little guy enjoying life, man.
Lucas lived in Wichita, Kansas with his father, Jonathan, and his girlfriend, 26-year-old Emily Glass. One court document said Emily was a stay-at-home parent. Emily had 2 children, a 1-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son, but sources didn't say whether or not the children lived with her full-time. Former neighbor Hisham Teflady told KAKE that Lucas was a quiet boy who kept to himself. He never really saw Lucas playing outside. And that kind of struck me. Now, I get it. Kids probably are not outside on their own as much nowadays as we were when we were kids. But to say that you didn't see this kid playing outside hardly ever, I don't know. That kind of hit me a little strangely.
Yeah, because you think, if the weather's decent, you try to get the kids outside just for a little bit.
Sure. Now, supervised, great.
Yeah.
But to not seem very much at all, although sources did not explicitly say so, it appears that Jonathan and Emily had a troubled relationship. According to KAKE, the police responded to at least 4 domestic violence calls involving the two between February 2016 and December 2017.
Well, that's a lot in a short period of time.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem to be. I get it. Some people have, really troubled relationships. I don't think there's any doubt that this one was, but 4 in that time span seems like a lot to have police called out, because that's not even the number of, violent interactions that they had. That's just the times that the police were called.
Yeah. Well, what about the ones they didn't make that call,
right? We have no idea how many of those incidents happened. Emily Glass reported Lucas missing around 6:15 p.m. on February 17th, 2018. She said that she last saw him in his bedroom around 3 p.m. She took a shower and then took a nap. When she woke up, Lucas was gone. She found the back door of their home slightly ajar.
I mean, I think it's difficult to nap in general with a 5-year-old at the house.
Yeah, I was wondering that too. And maybe there's people, who would say, no, I do that. And, my child's fine. And maybe they do. But it did kind of jump out at me as well as, 5-year-olds can get into a lot of, what.
Oh, yeah.
And to be left completely unsupervised, we have no idea how long this nap took, but
doesn't take much time to get in trouble.
No, it really doesn't. To get hurt. Immediately after Lucas was reported missing, officers searched the home and neighborhood. The search expanded over the following days. Over 100 officers were involved in the initial phase of the investigation. The police searched thousands of acres in the Wichita area, including various parks. Law enforcement used dogs, horses, drones, and divers to search for Lucas. The FBI also sent out their Child Action Rapid Deployment Team to help with the search.
It seems like law enforcement mobilized fairly quickly.
Yeah, I think they did. Now, we are talking about a 5-year-old here, right? There's no thought that a 5-year-old makes the voluntary decision that they want to go and start a new life.
Yeah.
That's not the issue in this type of case that you might have with a 16, 17-year-old, something like that.
This is more all hands on deck.
Yeah. Yeah. And, for years, they've used dogs, they've used horses, they've even used divers, but we are starting to see a lot more cases, and I think we will from here on out, where they're using drones. And these drones are so impressive.
They really are. I love my drone.
And they continue to advance technology-wise. Now, you don't use your drone for good. I don't even want to tell the people what you use it for, but the fact that you somehow got X-ray vision installed in the drone's camera.
Pretty cool.
Semi-illegal, maybe totally illegal. I don't know.
The one thing you can tell I'm okay with is the fact that I fly it over your house to see what's on the grill.
before you make your decision,
Exactly.
Stop by.
And I always catch you. You're always saying, I'm not doing anything. I'm not cooking anything tonight, so don't worry about coming over. And I'm like, well, no, I can see the steaks on the grill.
So now I know why you just happen to stop over when I have the expensive steaks out.
Exactly.
But like you said, right, I think you're going to see this in most areas, especially bigger areas like Wichita, where a 5-year-old is missing. You're going to deploy every resource you can. 100 officers. That's a large number.
It is, but it's needed.
Wichita Police Captain Brent Allred told KAKE, Lucas didn't just walk out of the house. There's somebody or somebodies that know something about Lucas, and maybe someone will hear something and give us that information that will lead us to Lucas. Now, I said that a 5-year-old's not going to make the decision that they want to start a new life somewhere. That's not going to happen. This guy's saying that he didn't just walk out of the house. And I would say a 5-year-old probably could.
I think they could.
Now, if it was true that the door was ajar, then I would say definitely a 5-year-old could probably pull that door open and walk out. But what we're going to have to figure out is how much of the story that Emily told police is true. Because 4 days later, on February 21st, Emily Glass was arrested on suspicion of 2 counts of child endangerment related to Lucas and her 1-year-old daughter. During her interview, Emily admitted that on February 16th, she smoked marijuana and drove to a restaurant with her daughter in the car, possibly leaving Lucas home alone.
Well, either you left him home alone or you didn't leave him home alone.
Yeah, I struggle with the word possibly. Is she saying that she was so high she doesn't remember whether she left Lucas home alone or not?
Sounds like what she's trying to say.
You'd have to be pretty high, and then that even ups the danger level, right, for her small daughter that was in the car with her. During her interview, she gave consent to have her phone searched. The police found that she sent Facebook messages to Jonathan Hernandez on February 16th, telling him she was going to smoke marijuana and then go to Olive Garden to use the gift card he sent her. She also made 2 phone calls on February 16th near the Olive Garden. I'm sure that's what Olive Garden wants their name associated with. Get as high as you can and then come to Olive Garden for the all-you-can-eat salad and breadsticks.
Well, they are good salad and breadsticks.
It is pretty good. Surveillance footage from the area did not capture Lucas walking out of the home. So maybe going back to the police captain's statement, that's what he was basing it on. It wasn't the fact that he couldn't, it was the fact that they had already determined he didn't. Investigators obtained phone records from Emily Glass and Jonathan Hernandez on February 26, 2018. Emily was charged with 1 count of misdemeanor child endangerment. The second charge was dropped after the case was presented to the DA's office. Emily's bond was set at $50,000. The judge said that her bond was so high because Emily was part of an ongoing investigation which made her a flight risk.
I get that. Until they know, they want to make sure that she's going to hang around.
Yeah. No, I understand that completely. What I had a little bit more trouble with, I guess, was the misdemeanor child endangerment. Driving your 1-year-old around, admittedly, while you were high, I guess is a misdemeanor. I wouldn't have thought that, but hey, I don't know.
Well, probably because they couldn't tell how high.
Oh, you mean like how impaired she was?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Continuing their search for Lucas, investigators looked at neighborhood surveillance footage, but Lucas wasn't captured, walking out of his home or being abducted. And here we go again with the neighborhood surveillance footage. It's just becoming such a big thing in these cases that we do that are newer. I stayed up pretty late the other night. I was, playing Xbox. It was about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
My wife called me from the bed because she goes to bed early and said the surveillance camera went off. I was like, okay, I didn't see it on my phone. Hit the little button to see what it was. I didn't see anything. Could have been a bug, could have been an animal or whatever. But it woke her up and she called me to let me know.
Yeah. Thanks, honey.
I, judging that there was no danger, went back to playing Xbox.
You didn't spring to action?
No, there was nothing to spring into action for. A deeper search of phone records found that Emily turned off her phone for 2 hours the night before she reported Lucas missing. On the morning of February 17th, her phone was off for about an hour. So let me ask you this, Gibbs. How often do you actually turn your phone off? Completely off?
Never.
I never do either. No, I put it on silent when we're taping. You often forget that. And so I have to edit out all your text messages and your phone calls and things like that. But, in all seriousness, how many people actually turn their phones completely off?
I don't think very many do.
I don't think so either. So when you have a case like this where you're looking at someone and you find out that they turned it off for 2 hours the night before, they turned it off for about an hour that morning, it's got to be a red flag, right?
I think so.
Because what would be the main reason why someone in a scenario that we would be talking about would turn their phone off?
Well, they don't want to be tracked.
Exactly. They don't want their location known. Now, can you stop that just from turning the phone off?
Not always.
I don't know. In the movies, they make it sound like you got to pull a SIM card, you have to throw the phone on the floor, and you have to crush it with your boot.
Yeah, smash it.
That's what they do in the movie. Emily took a lie detector test and was asked if she hurt Lucas and if she could lead the police to his body. She answered no to both questions, but the examiner found that she was being deceptive.
Now, polygraphs aren't always accurate, but it also could be telling a story here.
Could be. Yeah, could be. You and I have talked a lot about the accuracy of them, or maybe a better term is the admissibility of them.
Yeah.
And how they should be used. I would say it's definitely not making her look good.
And I think it helps the police determine what direction to go.
Yeah, my only issue with that is we've had cases where people have passed the polygraph. And so therefore they've been cleared to find out, 10, 20, 30 years later that they were the actual murderer.
Yeah.
So you have to look at it both ways. True Crime All the Time Unsolved is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Let's face it, sometimes multitasking can be overwhelming. Like when your favorite podcast is playing and the person next to you is talking and your car fan is blasting, all while you're trying to find the perfect parking spot. But then again, sometimes multitasking is easy, like quoting with Progressive Insurance. They do the hard work of comparing rates, so you can find a great rate that works for you, even if it's not with them. Give their nifty comparison tool a try try, and you might just find getting the rate and coverage you deserve is easy. All you need to do is visit Progressive's website to get a quote with all the coverages you want, like comprehensive and collision coverage or personal injury protection. Then you'll see Progressive's direct rate, and their tool will provide options from other companies all lined up and ready to compare. So it's simple to choose the rate and coverages you like. Press play on comparing auto rates. Quote at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy. Angie's List is now Angie, the home to skilled neighborhood professionals. Angie is your home for everything home, and they've made it easier than ever to connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. If you own a home, you know how much work it can take, whether it's everyday maintenance and repairs or making dream projects a reality. It can be hard just to know where to start, but now all you need to do is Angie that and find a skilled local pro who will deliver the quality and expertise you need. Angie has over 20 years of home service experience, and they've combined it with new tools to simplify the whole process. Bring them your project online or with the Angie app. Answer a few questions, and Angie can handle the rest from start to finish, or help you compare quotes from multiple pros and connect instantly. And all of that means you can take care of just about any home project in just a few taps, because when it comes to getting the most out of your home, you can do this when you Angie that. Download the free Angie mobile app today or visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com. After Lucas disappeared, a neighbor in the apartment complex where he lived told KAKE that he saw Lucas a few days before he disappeared. He had bruises on his body and looked what this neighbor described as extremely malnourished.
Now, that's not the type of news you want out there.
No, neither one. Now, kids get bruises. They fall down. They roughhouse or whatever. But I think a lot of times you can tell the difference, right? Between a kid that fell down and got a bruise on his shin versus a kid that was being beaten. And why would he be extremely malnourished? It sounds like he's being not only neglected, that's probably not the right word. He's being abused.
Yeah,
possibly. Lucas's aunt, Sally Rasmussen, released photos to KAKE that showed bruises on Lucas's body. These photos were taken in May 2017. Sally said she was sent a photo of Lucas in 2017 that showed bruises on his face and neck. She noted that she had been hearing stories of abuse for months. When Lucas and his father came to visit family in New Mexico, Sally and another relative saw more signs of abuse and filed a report in that state. She also included the photos in her report to the Kansas Department for Children and Families.
So you would think that the Department of Family and Children's Service probably looked into this.
Well, you would sure hope that they would, right? Is that what their job is?
Yeah, I mean, if you see a photo of a child that looks like he's been potentially beaten and also looks malnourished, it would be a priority, I would hope.
You, at the very least, you want to check that out, right? That's what we have these agencies for, is to protect children. The Kansas Department of Children and Families had been facing heavy public criticism since September 2017, when a 3-year-old boy was found buried under concrete after his relatives made repeated reports to the state and police. There were a few more cases in the following months where family members made reports to the department and a child later died. And I get it. There was a lot of criticism here. I'm not saying that these types of agencies can protect or stop everything. That's impossible. You can't say that.
Right.
But if it's proven that there was action to take and they failed to take that action, well, then they deserve the criticism.
They do.
Especially when a child dies or continues to be abused after the report was made.
I mean, some of these cases, they sent multiple reports.
Now, we don't know what they did or didn't do, but there was definitely something going on, because in 2018, Department Head Gina Meyer Hummel said the agency would implement corrective action plans and that 2 staff members had been dismissed. She said, per KAKE, as I looked at each region, it became evident that there were concerning trends in the Wichita region we needed to address. Quite simply, if we aren't fulfilling our mission to serve the children and families of Kansas to the best of our abilities, then critical changes are needed.
Well, good for her to recognize that.
Yeah, and not just come out and say, we did everything that we were supposed to do. Because that's easy. It's much harder to say, we failed. We need to make some changes. We let some people go. It's harder to take responsibility. And so, good on her. KAKE spoke with Jonathan Hernandez and asked him if Emily Glass abused Lucas. They also told him that family members reached out to them about possible abuse. He said, I'm sorry that they did, and that really pisses me off, only because it seems like it's about something else and it's not happening now. Now, if you want to bring that up later, that's fine. That's a whole separate issue. I think it's taking away from what's happening, and I don't appreciate it. Not from my family, not from strangers.
So he's saying what? We should concentrate and focus on that Lucas is missing.
Yes.
And worry about that right now and circle back to this other stuff later.
But should it be taken into account now? Could it have something to do with his disappearance? And I would say yes.
Yeah, I think some of the family members would agree with that, right? That the reason we're saying this, because it's relevant to what's going on.
Right. Now, he might not want to think that, Emily was abusing Lucas, or he might be covering for her. I don't know. But to just completely kind of dismiss it as being related, I think that's tough to do. He went on to say he believed Lucas was still alive, adding, Lucas is the sweetest, softest hearted, kindest little kid I've ever met. I'm so proud to be able to be his father. I miss him very much. I love him very much, and I just want him to come home. So he sounds sincere from the words that he's saying. Now, that's me reading the words. So, we don't know how it sounded from him, but he's saying everything you would expect a father of a missing child to say. Another public search took place across from the Chisholm Creek Park on March 11, 2018. According to the Finding Lucas group, Emily's phone pinged in the area shortly before Lucas was reported missing. The Missing Pieces Network, a national missing persons nonprofit, asked all landowners within 30 miles of Wichita to survey their land, wooded areas, ponds, outbuildings, vehicles, and trailers.
That's a lot of people, but I think it's a good request.
It is. It's also a pretty good chunk of land. If you think about 30 miles in all directions, that same month, Jonathan Hernandez set up a GoFundMe page to raise money to hire Klein Investigations and Consulting, a Texas-based PI company. Now, what do you make of that?
Well, I mean, I'm thinking that he just felt like the police weren't getting the results that he wanted.
Yeah, I get that. It also kind of gives me the vibe, whether it's true or not, that he didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
You kind of think, would you hire your own investigation team if you had something to do with it? Would you want more people looking into it? Now, it's not to say that somebody wouldn't do that to throw off suspicion.
That's true.
By May 2018, volunteers were still searching for Lucas. Search organizers told KAKE that they were taking in new pieces of the investigation every day. Then on May 9th, Jonathan Hernandez was arrested and charged with battery for abusing the 6-year-old son of Emily Glass. This incident occurred on February 5th.
This kind of changes things a little bit.
Well, it definitely muddies the water. We have Emily being charged with child endangerment. Now we have Jonathan being charged with battery for abusing, her 6-year-old son. According to a probable cause affidavit, the boy told the police he was spraying a bottle of air freshener when Hernandez pushed him down onto the couch by putting his fingers on his chest. This caused redness and swelling on the child's chest, according to KAKE. Jonathan said that he told the boy to stop spraying the bottle. He reached for it and accidentally hit him.
That could possibly happen.
It could. It could also be a story.
It could be, yeah.
To cover up. Emily Glass went to trial for child endangerment in May 2018. She had been in the Sedgwick County Jail since February 21st, and she lost custody of her daughter in April. At trial, the state presented a video of Emily being questioned after she reported Lucas missing, which showed her admitting to smoking marijuana and driving her daughter to a restaurant. So we mentioned it, right? That's not good. You know, when you admit to police that you smoked marijuana and you're driving your 1-year-old daughter around in the car with you. But as you talked about, Gibbs, Emily's defense argued that there was no specific evidence to prove Emily was actually under the influence, and no marijuana or weed paraphernalia were found in her home. Additionally, the child was not injured. So it's not quite as cut and dry as maybe it might have seemed in the beginning. Yeah, she admitted to doing it, but is there a difference, kind of like with alcohol? Is there a level? Below the level, you're okay. It's not a great idea, but legally, there's a legal limit.
Yeah. And if you don't know what that level is, how can you prosecute it?
Does that same level exist with like marijuana, THC? I really don't know the answer, and it may vary, from state to state. Emily was acquitted of child endangerment on May 17th. So I think you kind of hit the nail on the head early on. How do you prove that she was really high? She admitted she smoked, but was she impaired or whatever the word or definition is that would rise to the level of child endangerment? And apparently it was determined that they couldn't prove it because she was acquitted. Days later, on May 24th, 2018, Emily led a private investigator to Lucas's remains.
Okay, this is interesting.
Yeah, I think there's already been a lot of focus on Emily, right? The phone records, the turning off of the phone. But when you're able to lead a private investigator to Lucas's remains, well, then you're going to have to answer the question of how you knew where he was.
And why didn't you tell the police when you had the opportunity?
Yes, you're going to have to answer that question as well. The PI had been hired by Lucas's family and started working the case on May 23rd. He questioned Emily on the first day of the investigation, and she led him to the remains on the evening of the 24th. So it didn't take him long, right, to get this information out of Emily Glass. Lucas's body was found under a bridge along a dirt road in Harvey County, about 20 miles away from Wichita and east of Sedgwick. Investigator David Mashburn called the police at 6:30 p.m. to report that he found a small person's body under a bridge and needed assistance. He and Emily were there. When the police arrived, Lucas's body was unidentifiable due to decomposition. He was not immediately identified, but his grandmother confirmed to KAKE News that the body was Lucas.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the body's been there for several months.
Emily Glass was arrested that evening on suspicion of obstruction of justice. Her bond was set at $250,000.
What kind of person lets a body sit out there for all this time decaying? I mean, we don't know at this point if she had anything to do with the death, but she knew where the body was. How do you live with yourself knowing that all these individuals are worried about him and you knew all along where he was?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying exactly. You have to ask the question, why didn't she provide this information sooner? If you're the family, wouldn't you have wanted to, be able to find him very early on instead of months later, after his body has decomposed? It's going to be tough either way, but I think even tougher knowing that this woman knew the entire time and waited so long to say something.
Yeah.
Lucas Hernandez was positively identified the next day through an autopsy and dental records. Volunteer searchers told KAKE that in recent weeks, they had extended their search to the area where Lucas was found. Sheila Medlem, a leader of the Finding Lucas Hernandez group, said the last search took place just 2 minutes from the rural area where Lucas was found.
So they were really close.
Yeah, it sounds like they most likely would have discovered him very soon. They were expanding in that direction. PI David Marshburn started speaking with media outlets after Lucas was found. He said he started his investigation by interviewing several people, including Emily. He told KAKE, sometimes we're in a bad state and we have something heavy on our chest and we want to get it off. You really want to be able to rely on somebody. And I guess that's the person I was to her. And it is pretty interesting that this guy was able to get the information out of Emily so quickly, whereas the police were not.
So maybe he did have a connection with her, or she just finally had enough and wanted to get it out there.
Yeah. I mean, some people are just really skilled at talking with people, putting them at ease, coaxing, information out of them. During his initial interaction with Emily, he noticed that she seemed uncomfortable and avoided eye contact. She gave brief responses and repeated questions back to him, which he said is a technique used by people who are being dishonest. Did I eat the last cookie?
Are you saying you think I ate the last cookies? Is that what you're trying to say to me?
Right. That's what I say back to my wife when she accuses me of eating the last cookie. Are you saying that you think I ate the last cookie? He said Emily was the key in the case and that she was responsible for him missing, but he denied reports that Emily already knew Lucas was dead. Okay, let's unpack that a little bit. He's saying she's the key, and obviously she is. She has the most information, it seems like. He goes on to say she was responsible for him missing, but is saying that or denying that she already knew Lucas was dead.
So what was he? Just hanging out underneath the bridge?
I don't know.
I mean, she knew where to go.
This is the part that is very confusing to me. And I think maybe the only thing you can take from it is that there was somebody else involved. He noted that his persons of interest were Jonathan and Emily. Jonathan told him he was an open book. On May 30th, 2018, the Wichita police presented their case to the Sedgwick County DA. DA Mark Bennett released a statement that day. No charges are being filed today, while investigators continue to follow up on newly developed leads and await the results of forensic examinations. So I take from that statement that they don't have enough. The mere fact that she was able to lead them to Lucas's body is not enough to charge her with more than obstruction of justice, like murder or, something like that.
Yeah, we don't even know if they have determined the cause of death yet.
Emily was then released from jail. The DA's office was criticized for their decision. Per KAKE, Mark Bennett said that they had to release her because they were not in a position to charge Glass at the time. And that was my takeaway from the statement that he made.
And I understand that.
Yeah, I do, because you need a certain amount of evidence. Go back to the charge against her earlier. She admitted to smoking marijuana, but she was acquitted because it sounds as though they didn't have, enough evidence to prove that she was impaired or whatever word you want to use. Okay, so now she knew where the body was, but other than obstruction of justice, what does that really mean? What role did she play? What can you prove? And those are big questions that have to be answered. After Emily was released, David Marshburn released audio of Emily Glass that was recorded on May 24th. He did an interview with Nancy Grace where he explained that Emily led him to Lucas after hours of talking. During their first interview on May 23rd, which took place at her aunt's home, she was cold and calloused. Marshburn said he told Emily that the police would go after her. Once Lucas's death certificate was issued, he told her, "I know you did it. I'm here. I can help you." He felt that he had enough information to go to the police, but he didn't think Lucas would be found. When he picked Emily up the next day, she quickly told him, "I went in his room and he was dead." They spent 4 hours searching. Emily gave him bits and pieces of information. Marshburn secretly recorded Emily while he and his partner, Marcia, drove her around to search for Lucas. The news outlet KWCH provided a transcript of the audio. Emily said, I feel so sorry. I put everyone through hell." Marcia said, "The only thing you can do from here is move forward." Emily was crying, and she said, "I did Lucas so wrong. I did him wrong. That's the God's honest truth. I don't know exactly where it's at. I just know it's in Ketchy. I'm such a piece of shit. I'm a piece of shit. I can't do jail. I can't." Marcia said, "You ain't going to do jail." Emily replied, "Pretrial services is not going to let me out. I don't understand any of this. I don't understand why." Marcia asked, "What do you mean? Why what?" Emily said, "Why would you be with me?" Marcia said, "Because that's what we do. It's our job."
So what do you make of that recording?
I mean, it does sound as though she's remorseful, but remorseful for what? It's kind of hard to tell what "I did him wrong" means. She's already said that she walked in and he was dead. So is "I did him wrong" the fact that she took his body and put it under a bridge and didn't tell anyone and left him out there all alone?
Yeah. Or is it "I did him wrong and didn't feed him and
right, caused his death in some way?" The one thing is that she doesn't really admit to much in this recording other than saying that she did Lucas wrong and that she's a piece of you-know-what. Marshburn also said that Emily admitted to using meth while she took care of Lucas and her daughter. She also might have tried to pin Lucas's disappearance on a homeless man whom she invited into her home after Lucas went missing. This man was interviewed and said he never saw Lucas in the home. He was later killed in a hit and run. KWCH provided a link to an article identifying the victim of an April 23rd, 2018 hit and run incident as 22-year-old Christian Riles. In his interview with Nancy Grace, David Marshburn said he didn't believe Emily's story, that she found Lucas dead in his bed. He said, "I think she resented Lucas because she couldn't have boys of her own," which is kind of a strange statement, Gibbs, because we've already talked about the fact that she had a 6-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Emily Glass ended her life early on June 8th, 2018. She was 27 years old when she died. Emily was found inside the home dead from a gunshot wound. A rifle was found near her feet, and 3 suicide notes were found in the home. 1 note was found in the kitchen with a ring. 2 notes were found in Emily's bedroom and were addressed to Jonathan and Aunt. Officers responded to the house about 1:40 a.m. after Jonathan Hernandez called to report finding her body inside his home. After hearing news of Emily's death, David Marshburn told KAKE, "I would like to say it's shocking, but it's not really that shocking. I told law enforcement she was suicidal and that I saw a scar on her left wrist." Shelley Eberhard, a family friend, told KAKE she never got to tell her story. Unfortunately, now she never will. And I understand what this family friend is saying, but I feel like she had plenty of time to tell her story.
Yeah, I think so too. I think she had the opportunity and for whatever reason chose not to.
Yeah, she never took the opportunity. Now, she never will be able to. That's absolutely a true statement. A family spokesperson also released a statement on behalf of Lucas's mother, Jamie Taylor Orr, and his father, Jonathan Hernandez. Today, Emily Glass chose to end her own life. We are deeply shocked and saddened by this turn of events. Another mother and father have lost a child. Children have lost their mother, and a family will have to grieve someone they loved. We know from experience how heartbreaking and tragic this will be for them. This is not the ending we would have chosen for Emily. She was the only person on this earth who could tell us what the last moments of our child's life were like. We wanted answers, and we still want justice. Our hope is that the truth will still come out, that there will be answers to the many questions we have. Please keep Emily's family in your thoughts and prayers along with ours. None of us wanted or expected all this loss and devastation that has come to pass. Give both of our families time to process this unexpected death. And I thought that was a well-written, very thoughtful statement. Because if you think about it, they had to have been looking at her as most likely the person that caused the death of their son.
Yeah.
But they don't start out talking about that. They start out talking about, how parents have lost a child, children have lost a mother. I mean, they're very respectful.
And they're relating to what her family's going through.
And they can relate because they are going through it and have gone through it for a while now.
But I can see where they're at this moment, right? They don't have the answers. They desperately would like to have the answers of what happened to their son. But at the same time, they say they hope that they will get those answers soon. But I think a little bit of that hope has to diminish because the one person that can give you those answers is no longer here.
Yeah, in the statement, they say they're hopeful that they'll get the answers, but I'm with you. Some of that hope has to be dashed, I think, knowing that she was most likely the one person who could have filled in all of the details. Emily's autopsy confirmed that she died of suicide. She was buried in an undisclosed grave. Later that month, Jonathan Hernandez spoke to Nancy Grace about the night Emily ended her life, saying, "She got my gun case out of my closet and took it into that back room with her." Jonathan explained that he allowed Emily to continue living in his home because she had nowhere else to go, even after she led the PI to Lucas's remains. All right, I got to be honest with you, that's going to be pretty tough for me.
I think for myself as well.
I'm going to need to know how you knew where my son was. And I'm going to need all the details.
Yeah. How did you know? And what did you do?
And I don't think I'm going to feel real safe living under the same roof of someone who may have been responsible for the death of my son. I don't know. That one gets me a little bit.
It does.
That one's hard to understand.
I mean, they had domestic violence issues before all this happened.
I get it. She's got nowhere to go. It's one thing to help a person out. It's another thing to live with a person who you believe had something to do with the death of your son. When Jonathan was asked why he allowed Emily to stay, he said, until the autopsy was going to come back. And whatever it said, I mean, it's still up in the air as far as if she did or if she didn't do anything other than hide his body. And so I wasn't going to just kick her out on the street. I mean, I wasn't staying there. So she was, welcome to stay there as long as she needed. So there's a little more context. He wasn't staying there under the same roof, I guess. And it sounds like he's really giving her the benefit of the doubt until the autopsy comes back. I still think I would be awful angry that even if you did discover him dead, had nothing to do with the death, but hid the body and didn't tell anyone. I'm going to have some very hard feelings about that.
Yeah, I think I would too. I mean, clearly you knew where the body was. And why would you let my son decompose out there like that?
Lucas's autopsy results were released on June 27, 2018. His cause and manner of death were undetermined. The autopsy report stated that Lucas was found in a state of advanced decomposition under a pile of debris and had no obvious skeletal trauma. So I think that's tough, right? By the time the body is so decomposed. There's a lot of things that are hard to tell. If all you have is skeletal remains and you have no marks on any of the bone, or you have no broken, let's say, hyoid bone, what are you going to be able to tell about the manner of death? Obviously, there's no gunshot wound to the head or, anything like that.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult.
It is. And, that leads me to question, is that why she waited so long to tell people where the body was?
Maybe,
It's possible.
Well, she was in prison for like 2.5 months where she had time to come forward. She had plenty of time to think about it. Like, should I say something? Should I tell them where the body's at?
So when you're trying to figure out why she waited, it's either her conscience got to her or it was more calculated than that. Emily's former defense attorney, Julia Leth Perez, told KAKE after the results were released, on this planet, there are very few people who actually have any idea what happened. And the people giving those interviews are not the people who would know. It would be me, her attorney who she confided in, the detectives who did the investigation, the prosecutor who's reviewed the evidence. Those are going to be the people who know the closest to possible inch of the truth. And even among us, we don't have 100%. Well, it's tough to have 100% when the person that probably knew didn't come clean.
Right.
And now can't. Leth Perez was one of the last people to speak with Emily. She said that Emily would not have been found guilty of a crime. Attorney-client privilege prevented her from speaking about many of their conversations, but she said that Emily was afraid to tell the truth and added her regrets as to Lucas were regrets that she didn't say something sooner, that she let her fear and her anxiety take control of her, and that she didn't come forward at an earlier date. It wasn't fear and remorse of any action or inaction she took regarding him. It was, I should have came forward sooner. I shouldn't have been so afraid. So what is she saying in a nutshell? That from what Emily told her, she didn't kill Lucas.
Right. Sounds like she's trying to say Emily didn't have anything to do with the death.
Well, and it would only be based on what Emily told her.
Right.
So you have to, factor all that in. The fear and anxiety is what she regretted not coming forward sooner when she says, I shouldn't have been so afraid. What was she afraid of? The legal ramifications of letting the authorities know where the body was, or repercussions from someone else that was possibly involved? We don't know because obviously this attorney can't fully lay it out.
Right.
And even if she did, again, it would still be only what Emily told her. We don't know how much of that was 100% the truth. The next month, on July 11, 2018, Jonathan Hernandez pleaded guilty to misdemeanor battery and was sentenced to 1-year probation with an underlying 6-month jail term. His guilty plea was connected to his earlier arrest for abusing Emily Glass's young son. The conditions of his probation included employment, no drug or alcohol use, no leaving the state without permission, and completing a parenting class. At a news conference on July 20th, 2018, Wichita Police Captain Brent Allred said that none of the suicide notes found at the scene of Emily Glass's death described what happened to Lucas. Emily wrote about which property she wanted her daughter to have and her regrets about not being a better mother and girlfriend. Emily also wrote that she was sorry for failing her family. So again, even in death, she just was not going to give up the information that everybody wanted.
And it makes you wonder why. Why not come clean at that moment about whatever you knew?
Yeah, it's a great question. Is it because you didn't want your family to know for certain that you had done something that you were ashamed of? I don't know. I really don't.
Or is it because whoever was going to receive one of the notes already knew what happened?
Yeah, we just don't know. Allred said that Jonathan Hernandez was not at the home when Emily died and said that investigators found no evidence he had knowledge of or was complicit in Lucas's death. Phone records support his statement that he was in New Mexico when Lucas disappeared.
So it sounds like he's in the clear.
Well, I think he's in the clear of actually harming Lucas himself. He wasn't there to do it. Does that information mean that he couldn't have been involved in some way? No, but it does sound like investigators don't believe that he was. Allred said, I believe Emily had something to do with it, whether it was accidental or intentional. That's one question we'll never know, that we all want to know. We believe there's only one person that has that information, and she's no longer around. On July 23rd, 2018, the Wichita PD released the handwritten notes found inside the home. Police documents indicated that the people interviewed at the scene had doubts that Emily died of suicide. Well, that's interesting.
It is interesting that people on the scene had doubts.
Now, we don't know why they had doubts. There wasn't a lot of information to give more, context on that.
But if there was foul play, then it makes you wonder why and who.
Well, if there was foul play and somebody killed her, why would that be? And in my mind, there's really two avenues to go down. One is that someone suspected that she killed Lucas and they were seeking their revenge, taking their revenge, or someone knew that she knew the full truth and that person never wanted that full truth to come out to protect themselves.
Those would be really the only reasons.
If she didn't
do it herself.
It's been 5 years since Lucas Hernandez died. It does seem very likely, Gibbs, I think with everything that we've gone through, that Emily Glass was either involved in his disappearance and death in some way, or at the very least had knowledge of what happened to him. But I think there's a really good chance that the public, the family, law enforcement may never really know how Lucas died.
Yeah, I agree with that statement, because the one person that can help with that is no longer around.
Well, the one person that we know for sure had information. Could there be another person or more people that have information? Possibly. But we know for sure Emily had some information.
Yeah.
She wouldn't have been able to lead the private investigator to Lucas's body if she didn't have at least some information. And I think as we wrap it up, let's assume that no one else was involved besides Emily Glass. Then I think you're really looking at most likely two scenarios. Either she really did walk in on him and he was lying dead in his bed. Yeah. She panicked and she took his body and put it under the bridge. Now, in that scenario, you kind of have to ask yourself, how does a 5-year-old just die? Was it from abuse? Was it from malnourishment?
Pretty malnourished, die.
Yeah. And then obviously the second scenario would be that she actually had a hand in his death.
Yeah.
And then took him out and put him. But there are other scenarios to consider. It could have been someone else.
Could have been.
And she just had knowledge of where the body was. It could have been somebody else that, was involved in his death, but for whatever reason, she was the one to take the body out there. I don't know. I think for me, and I would imagine most people listening, their thoughts and ideas of what happened are going to center around Emily Glass.
Yeah.
I really do.
Well, she's not here to defend herself, right?
No. And obviously she cannot be held accountable, even if new evidence, would surface or something like that. This may be one of those mysteries that will never be solved, but I never say never.
You can never say never.
But that's it for our episode on the unsolved murder of Lucas Hernandez. We have some voicemails, Gibbs. You want to check those out?
Let's hear them.
Hey guys, this is Matt calling from Delaware. I really, really, really love and enjoy listening to every single one of the podcasts that you put out, and thank you for all the effort that you put into all these. And speaking of that, I'm very curious as to how you both prepare for the podcast? Like, what's step 1, step 2, step 3 when you get a case, and how do you get them out so quickly? That's what I've always been curious about. So I'd love to hear about that. I'm team both of you guys, and thanks so much for doing what you do. Appreciate it.
Now, we can't disclose all our secrets.
No. And it would be hard to go through all the steps right here. But if you really, want to know all the details, just email me at truecrimeallthetime@gmail.com.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to lay it out for you. What I will say, and I have said before, is from the time that we started, it's a lot more work than we ever thought it would be.
It sure is.
And the weekly turnaround is a bear. There's just no way around it.
Yeah.
But I'd be happy to give you more details through email.
Every time I see y'all talk about Ford Festivus, it makes me laugh because I live in southeast Texas. Like, it's hot all the time. And, like, we might get winter, like, 2 weeks or something like that. But, anyway, my ex-mother-in-law bought a Ford Festiva during our 2 weeks of winter, and she was so dumb. She got it without air conditioning. Without air conditioning. We live in southeast Texas. So, and it was also a standard transmission. I don't even know if they made those in automatic. I don't know. But southeast Texas, no air conditioning because she thought she could handle it. She wasn't the brightest person in the world, and neither was her son. But anyway, just thought you'd like to know that.
How do you really feel about those family members there?
Yeah, that one cracked me up a little bit. And it also kind of reminded me a little bit. Remember when we did the Bernie Tita episode?
Oh, yeah.
And the guy was explaining all the different parts of Texas. And she said, East Texas. You and I have been to Texas quite a few times.
Oh, yeah.
It's very hot.
It can be.
It can be very hot.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I love more than air conditioning. And I do not like to be hot.
You do not.
It doesn't surprise me at all that it was a manual transmission. Heck, I thought those Festivas didn't even have transmission. I thought they had a hole in the floorboard where you had to do like a
Flintstone?
Fred Flintstone and just rev it up.
I mean, what would the price difference been back then? $80?
I don't know.
Save $80. Don't get that air conditioning.
That's tough, man. Driving around, I would think, East Texas with your windows down, it's still going to be really super hot. That hot air blowing in through the windows is not going to do it for me.
Well, obviously didn't do it for her either.
No, I guess not. But thanks for the voicemails. That's it, buddy, for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
Hold on to your jingle bells. Pluto TV has all your holiday favorites for free. Enjoy our season's greetings category with 9 holiday channels, including holiday movie favorites by Lifetime, Festive Fireplace, Holiday Lights, and Hallmark movies and more. Download the Pluto TV app on all your favorite devices and start streaming holiday favorites on live channels and on demand. With thousands of free movies and TV shows, Pluto TV is your home for the holidays. Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.